chat of hello everyone. Welcome to this fireside chat of June 6th. No, June 21st
First.
21.
of 2015. We've had a couple of these so far. What we do in these is talk about policy discussion, talk about rules. Basically, it's been a chance to the executive board to get together and you see us talking about different things about the NCDA. Here I have Dylan Feddick, who is our league director of league expansion, and Felix Peroni, our treasurer, and myself, Zygmus Maloney, as president. Guys, introduce yourselves.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Felix, and I'm happy with my job at the moment.
It's has to start early tomorrow. Anyways, in this fireside chat, we've discussed what we call a block. There's been a lengthy discussion going on in the forums, which is always encouraged. Clean blocking versus dirty blocking. In addition, we'll also talk about the two new executive board positions, the director of officiating and the director of league community relations, right?
Yes.
Community relations, yeah.
Yeah, community rep, alumni rep, stuff like that. All right, and then if we get to anything else, we'll get to it, but we'll try to keep this short. So let's jump into the block rule. Dylan, can you give us a short explanation on clean blocking versus dirty blocking?
Sure. So the current rule is you block a ball, that ball is dead. So no matter what it hits after you block it, it doesn't matter. No one's out. That would be the dirty block. So it's up for discussion. People like to argue, like, oh, it nicked the ball, I'm not out. So a clean block would mean you need to cleanly block the ball away from your body and into the ground before the thrown ball becomes dead. And that's what we're talking about changing to.
Now, we're not talking about, I've kept up with it. I know people have suggested different things. If I were to block a ball into my teammate, they would not be out. Is that correct?
Well, it's uncertain right now. It's still up in the air. I feel like the best option would be to make it so only one person can get out. I think it would be live for one person basically. So if you block it into your teammate, then he's out. But you can't block it into yourself and then it hits your teammate and then you're both out.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the way we would present the rule as a change is like, do you want to change first off as our user? Would you like to change to a dirty blocking versus clean blocking thing? And clean blocking is like, I just explained this to Felix a little bit before we started. Clean blocking is like the new wave of rules for dodgeball. There's a lot of old school players. There's an old school league in Chicago, which the NCDA and DePaul rules stem from, called Aberdeen, and they use the dirty blocking. When you hit the ball, it's out. At one point in discussion, usually you can tell by hearing it or seeing it.
Right.
But very much clean blocking has become a new wave. Elite uses it most prominently. There's a couple of other leagues not as well known, but they'll also use it. So like it's a very it's a new wave of thing. And there's something to be said about not having a static piece of rule set. And we're a very young organization. We've said this before. We shouldn't box ourselves into something just because it works for us.
I think that's actually one of the biggest things I like about our league is that we're open to making changes and we actually we take people's input and work to make ourselves better from that input. Like I know I'm not trying to bash your lead or anything, but if you try to talk to them about the rules, they're set on what they have and they don't want to they don't want to listen to any
Which is a
suggestions.
shame. It
Right.
is a shame. Like
It is.
Well, dodgeball is it's a crazy game. I think I put that in the rule book for a reason.
Right.
Well, anyways, I brought this up in the conversation, but there's probably almost a dozen people talking about it on the forum, which is very, very nice.
Right.
But apparently I was the only one to think that it's actually easier to officiate dirty blocking over clean blocking.
Yeah, I was interested to hear your logic behind that, but
Well, I spread it out, and it's more like it's two levels of the way I understood it. But apparently I was wrong or something, but it's all right. I just believe it's more of a two-layer thing. Like you hear it, and then you could also see it. And as a ref, usually, especially when you're in a tight environment with a lot of people, even like 12 people, if you had 6-on-6 full elite stuff, you rely on a lot of your senses. You rely a lot of, if the ball is going towards a person, you know it's going towards a person, so you focus on that person, and then you focus your whole senses on it. At least that's been my experience.
yeah.
So I kind of used most of my senses, but I don't know. People didn't like it. Or they just, it felt like they ignored it, but it's probably just me thinking that. But I like the conversation. I mean, Dylan, you've been a little bit more playing in elite, so you can focus a little bit more on clean blocking and officiating it as well in elite.
Yeah, I mean, you still have to be an experienced ref. It's not going to be like that. It's not going to be like you can pull someone off the street and they're the best ref because of this rule. Like it's not going to change that. But it's like if you hear two, like you're talking about using your senses. If you hear two noises, then they're out. Like there's no point that you can hit the ball twice and make two noises and hit that. Like and I don't know. It just adds besides reffing, it adds another like value to a player because their blocking skills now more valuable than it used to be. Like if you're the best thrower, but you can't block for yourself, you just always block into yourself, then you're going to be less valuable to your team than someone who can block better.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I didn't like playing about elite was blocking into your teammate.
Right.
That was a rule for some of them.
Yeah, especially with a small court and that.
Yeah, no, and it sucked. I don't think it would be that much of a problem with the caliber of our blockers, at least from what I've seen recently, and the tradition of blocking in the NCDA. I think we're pretty clean in general.
Yeah.
See, I don't know about that either because if you can block into one of your teammates and it gets them out, I feel like that's going to make the officials have to focus on that transaction a little bit longer because they're going to have to wait for the ball to hit the ground rather than just hearing it hit the ball and then being able to look away to something else where other action is happening. So that's the only issue that I have with it. If it were just clean blocking on yourself, then I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely would like clean blocking on yourself and like.
Yeah.
And most of the time, this rule comes to an effect where, it just skims the ball. You can hear it skim the ball, and then it brushes past the shorts and clearly deflects.
Yeah.
And you could either hear those two sounds or see it happening and like see that deflection. I think that's the most common implication of this rule. Normally, I guess that's the most common instance. It wouldn't. Many times it's not like you're blocking it and you block it into somebody's face, which happens all the time. And it's actually pretty hilarious as a ref to see it. I struggle to laugh every time because at least one event somebody gets blasted in the face from a block and they start
Right. Yeah.
which is funny, but it doesn't happen a lot as opposed to blocking into yourself.
Right.
And I think it'll increase the caliber and of a block. So you gotta, and a little practice, people will get it. It remains to be seen if people, the majority of the league will like it.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. We're bringing this up to a vote. So, I mean, if most people don't like this, that's an option. We're not saying that it's going to change, but I like what we were saying earlier, that we at least take into consideration what other people have to think. A lot of organizations don't do that. They let the higher up say, "Yep, this is what's going to happen. We'll try it out."
Yeah.
Here, we're at least giving them the opportunity to voice their opinions.
Right. Yeah, and it might turn out to be like, I know the opening rush. It was brought up a couple times in the captain's meeting to change, and it got shot down the first couple times, but eventually everyone realized that it was a broken. I mean, people were getting hurt and it wasn't working out. So it took, like, you had to bring up the idea a couple times, but then they finally changed it.
I definitely think in that situation we kind of forced it as a very young administrative side. We're like, well, guys, we got to change this. So I think we just forced a vote.
Yeah.
And it helped out a lot. And it's still the same option. Like, we had a good amount of teams that didn't want to change it, which was fine.
Right.
But that's part of an election process and the preferential voting system.
Right.
The change in the official rush was more preferred.
Right.
More majority. So, but that's, changes. Well, being able to evolve is good. Change necessarily isn't good. I mean, just for change.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, any other opinions? Discussion? What do you think?
I was honestly, I didn't bring up this rule. I don't remember who did actually bring up this rule, but Wes brought it up. Wes started it. I have been playing with the idea for like the past year now. I didn't bring it up because I didn't have any real strong opinions on one way or the other, but it's good for everyone to talk about it and figure out what the best solution would be.
Okay. Good. I mean, there's 4 pages of discussion on it, which is nice.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more than 10 posts per page, but still, we're a college organization, so I like that we can talk about it.
Right.
All right. So we have just 1 or 2, if you count them, 2 new positions coming in for the executive board. The director of officiating and the director of
community relations.
We should, like, I don't know. When I initially wanted to reform the title for officiating, we had like officiating and records, and it was like too long, and I was just like, okay, officiating, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't justify doing it for director of community relations. So I think we might. I mean, I would love to have just relations, but that's something we'll have to develop as like reform the position, because right now that position, we needed a 7th because we needed an odd number.
Right.
We didn't want to. We very much wanted to have a flat executive board internally, so like each member, each director has their own vote, and no other person can really veto it, which is a nice concept. I really endorse it, but that gets beyond the point. But the director of community relations, we wanted to have something that wasn't just a secretary. Try to have at least a minimum work involved for a certain person. So there's like, you'll see Dylan's current position, director of league expansion, that originally was a secretary.
Right.
Like, no, we definitely need more teams in the league. Why don't we just make the position a certain thing? What do you guys think that position would work right now? Let's focus on that first, and then talk about officiating later.
I like this position as a trial period. I think that this is definitely a position that's needed, especially with the growth of our organization. Now that we are a nonprofit organization, we have a lot of community standards. We have to somehow help the communities that we're involved in.
Right.
And so I think this is a good position as far as that aspect. One thing that I really push for, and whenever we were talking about creating this position, is creating and maintaining relationships with charities. That's really important. I personally, it's no secret, I want the NCDA to host tournaments that benefit the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. It's a charity that I've always tried to work with whenever I had any fundraising opportunity. And so I think it would be a great idea to have a position that's dedicated to communicating with different charities, different smaller organizations, even if it's things like high schools. WKU used to do those charity tournaments at high schools to help raise money for their prom fund or something like that. Just simple things like that, and something to keep the alumni involved, because as a nonprofit organization, we can accept funds and donations, and I know that some of our alumni have gone on to earn real money, and so it'd be great to be able to hit them up and say, hey, how about you throw some of that back towards the organization that helped you have fun for 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
But
and we from the start in all our posts, we're definitely talking about this position as a 1 year position to help form it, and then to get the election schedules back on track. Because this one will go with the Dole Director of League expansion and
the Dole and the Cock.
The content writer, the content chief content. We didn't plan that. Did not plan acronyms. Don't push it on me.
Kind of makes sense for the person that's in the
That's
position.
true.
Yeah. Oh man. Anyways, it's nobody's been nominated for the position. I know like maybe 1 or 2 people have expressed interest in just being on the board and helping. So if it gets to that point where we're on the 24th, which the deadline is the 24th, I'm just gonna nominate 2 people.
Yeah.
And see if they accept the nomination, because we need to. I don't know. It's like you can just step up and see what you could do with the position and mold it to yourself. We're very
fluid.
Yeah, we're fluid, and that's kind of like what we do with the officership now. Like, we have some defined stuff, defined primary duties and tasks, but really it's the individual person that makes the position. So
yeah, I mean, as treasurer last year, I did the scheduling for nationals and did that stupid matchup things. Like, that has nothing to do with finances, but it needed to be done.
There's certain responsibilities that are ingrained in the position, and right now those are pretty broad because we work together as a team. We have just a thread going on. Occasionally we'll have like some meetings over Google Hangouts.
Yeah.
These fireside chats are pretty much have turned into just listening to us talk about what we think, and it's good. So, any passing stuff of what you would like to see that extra person do?
Honestly, I just want to see someone get involved. I want different perspectives on the executive board. I've thoroughly enjoyed the 5 of us this year, but I also enjoyed last year when I think it was just Jude, myself, and Zig.
Yeah, and very early it was Sam.
Hiller.
But that was the legacy of how the executive board came to be. It was just like, all right, who's doing website stuff? I am. Who's doing like content writing stuff? Well, Sam. Felix is doing treasury stuff because we're getting the thing, so we'll make him a position.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I love the different perspectives, and I really hope that someone does step up. It's not like we're asking you to start from scratch. I mean, this is a position that's already, I mean, it already has a pretty solid foundation as far as like alumni relations. Like, you're not going to have to do too much. I just want someone to be involved and help grow our
I
league.
would definitely like to see first an alumni get in position, because I like the idea of having a majority of alumni on the executive board as like a stuff to give back, and generally we give back and a little bit more experience under the belt. Not necessarily, like, there's a lot of great juniors and seniors that are leading their clubs right now, but I wouldn't put them down because they do great work. But it should be like a person that's maybe a senior or an alumni coming into the year. They want to see what it's like to be on an executive board and be able to do work and step up and be part of the conversation. Stuff like that.
And I'd like to see like someone like Mark Drapetti involved in that position. I think he would be solid in that. I know he had originally said something about like an advisory board made up of alumni to help make decisions or something like that, and this could be the gateway to that.
Yeah, I think originally he didn't really want to have like too much say so.
Oh, really?
And I think it was just because he didn't want to be committed to put in the work.
Yeah.
Right.
It's whatever. This is a volunteer position. Legally we can't get paid. So you take what I can get.
Yeah.
All right. The next position is the director of officiating, which includes leading the officials of the organization, leading the rule book committee. It's also taking care of the records. A lot of the stuff I was doing as president and like before when I was just keeping the records it'll probably float into this position. Really, it floats into whoever can accomplish it on the board. Whoever has the time to do it. I think we just put it in this one because it's a position of integrity, and I think having accurate rules and accurate rule sets and accurate records is part of that. But that's just kind of fleshing out the position. And in researching this, like a lot of leagues, especially the NFL, and specifically they have executive vice president of rules. And the NHL has director of officiating, which is where I stole the title from in drawing it up. In addition to just trying to cut it down. And the MLB has a director of umpires or something like that. His dog.
Yeah.
Really excited. So like, there's a very strong tradition of and need for this kind of position. So I think it'd be really good, and it was a great point to start off with. I think it was our first solid pick for expanding the executive board. Felix, what do you think based on the building of this position?
I mean, I'm definitely in favor of it. I think that the rule book in itself, just reevaluating, especially with all the changes that everyone wants to make, I think it'll take a lot of pressure off of people who can be putting their time towards other tasks. I know that last year I did a lot in like rewording the rule book and stuff like that. I know you did it in years past. I think it'd be great if someone that was their position. That's all they did was they focused on making sure that the rule book is published on a timely basis. Because I know we definitely dropped the ball on that last year. The latest update was released, I think, in March, and Nationals was in April. So I think it's exciting that we're able to do things on a timely basis now, especially with our Constitution that it'll be a living Constitution, and the president who traditionally handle the rule book, the president will have to work with the Constitution, making sure that stays accurate and
Yeah,
up to date.
that was the problem, especially last year. Is like I didn't have enough time. And usually, like it was just like, okay, well, we got to get the rulebook done. And it was like, well,
Yeah.
I'm writing emails. I'm responding to people and trying to get nationals sorted out, or generally organize a lot of different other people. And it's just like, well, Felix will take over.
Yeah.
Not it's just like whoever, and that's the good thing about the executive board. We kind of work together and pick up each other's slack because it's not like the positions are really like specialized,
Right.
and require a deep understanding of something. There's a lot of we're all pretty educated people, so we can kind of get it done in a logical way.
It was great It was great the year before last when it was the three of us working on the rule book because we were able to. I think we all had more time on our hands, so we were able to talk about things more in depth and discuss different options for different rules and even bring in our own edits. And I liked that aspect. So I would like to see that happen again with this officiator or the director of officiating. They could actually form a committee that will be able to discuss the rules.
Yeah, that was our first solid committee where it wasn't just like one person writing the rule book. There was Dylan, Felix, and I. Yeah, that was a great little conversation that we brought in.
Yeah, I think that it gives us a good opportunity to. We talked about this before about making a certification for officials.
Yep.
And another goal I wanted to do but didn't have time to do.
Right. I mean, it'll happen, and it'll be good. It'll be good to have people that are competent refs, and like a lot of times when we would play home games, you would have alumni from one team playing, and the other team might think that that's a little biased or whatever. So that would give us an opportunity to have maybe like resources from people to come ref that aren't from either school and maybe remove some biases.
Definitely. All right. And then like some other stuff about the position, records. The way I do it right now, which is it's basically just putting in a spreadsheet and then eventually the idea was to put it into a database, an online database, which does fancy results with the records. But the records are necessary. I've always been a staunch guy of making sure stuff is correct and like in the order it's been played, and so we generally work with it. And in the past year and a half, 2 years, 3 years even, we've done a lot of not manipulation, just like working with the records and trying to see how we rank teams.
Right.
And it's not to say that this position will generally do anything related to that. That's very much a executive board group decision, how we do that in the past. But we definitely need one person, and I dabbled with like assigning this to an actual person last year and the year before. But we need somebody to just put those records in, just to keep that spreadsheet updated.
Yeah.
That's very important. And it's not like to say that this person will dictate any policy on that. I don't think they will. It's definitely something that the executive board as a whole needs to do because it's very important because people get disgruntled or have a strong opinion on stuff like that, just like the rule book. Not one person can just dictate the rules because that's pretty static and it's not fair. And there's many other reasons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, it's definitely going to help in the ranking process as we work on figuring that out. It's really important to have, accurate rankings, accurate records, and like you said, what order games were played too, because that will show you a better trend of how a team is evolving as a group and stuff.
Yeah, I mean some of the records are rolling records, so like as a team plays another team, it adjusts their win-loss percentage. Like, there's two different systems that do that. There's also one or two different systems that just count up lump results, and it doesn't really matter when you play somebody.
Right.
If you're looking at the end of the season. So, but for that, it's just like a simple thing. Well, you have to. I mean, a lot in the early days, which is like why anything prior to 2010 of September, the results are not. They're iffy. We have some pretty good results. I think we have almost like 250 games from 2000 to 2010, which is actually pretty good, considering most of those were just nationals. But it's on vibrate. So where was I? God. We were talking about stuff.
About you said you had 250 games between 2000 and 2010, and
that doesn't help. But we had 250 games, and a lot of times it was just like I took a post that had everybody defeated, or like Grand Valley defeated, went 4-0, and they didn't say when they played each other and in what process, which later on it does create an issue, but like then it's just like, oh, we went 4-0. We have 4 wins, so whatever.
Right.
But so that's why we've been trying to stress to people, submit it as a schedule, and then fill in the schedule, because it's much better, much more accurate data.
Yeah.
Because say Saginaw hasn't played a game all season, and they do stuff, and they defeated an undefeated team at the end of the tournament, but they lost 3-0 before that. There's certain thing to say because of that. I'm probably just rambling about that, but let's move on to something.
I just got a message asking for more details on the community relations position, because somebody is interested in it. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So I guess people are watching. So really quickly, just to hit on that, basically what your position would entail is facilitating discussion to keep alumni involved, because alumni are such a pivotal part of this league. They act as officials and as support and advisors, and also your other duties would include creating relationships with charities we would support. So if we decided to raise funds at tournaments to give to St. Jude's, for example, basically you would just call St. Jude's fundraising hotline and get an account set up with them, get the fundraising packets that they have available, making sure that that gets to the correct venues and just things like that. So it's not a super involved position, but it definitely makes a difference and helps complete our organization's purpose.
Even then, like maybe 1 or 2 events over the year that you coordinate, either on-site person, or like you post a post in the Captain's Club, hey, anybody want to do a St. Jude's tournament this year? And Central gets on board. And then you just you organize it with Central and say you're in Louisiana.
Yeah.
You can still do it. It's fine. We with the power of technology, we're talking online live between each other. It's pretty easy. Passing note, you don't have to travel to be part of the executive board. It helps if you go to nationals. It's also real fun. I make a trip out of it. I make a vacation out of it. But you don't have to travel. You don't have to really go anywhere. You just have to do work online. It's just a passing comment, because I've had 2 to 3 people over the past 4 years. They're like, I don't want to do anything because I can't travel anywhere. I can't go anywhere.
Right.
I can't afford it. It's not an issue. It's great if you do, but don't let that stop you from doing work if you want to do work. That's
definitely.
just whatever.
Okay. All right, cool. So okay, so right now for the nominations so far for these different positions, we don't have anybody nominated for the community relations director. Director of officiating, right now we have Zygmus Maloney and Camden Fulmer of Kent State. And then for treasurer, it's myself and Mike McNichols from DePaul. And then for president, it's a battle between Dylan and myself.
Yes.
So, and if Dylan is elected, his position, since he has one more year as the director of league expansion, that will then become open and will hold a subsequent election to fill that position for 1 year as an interim position.
Right. Do we know if Camden accepted his nomination?
He liked it, so
Okay.
I guess that means he accepted it.
Yeah. I don't know. The kind of the way it works right now is usually people ask for it and then somebody nominates them.
Yeah.
Which is
Right.
fine. I think when I first was motioned into president, I was just motioned in, and I was like very privileged to hold the title. It wasn't elected or anything; it was just like motioned by like 4 or 5 people, which was very nice. But I wasn't really expecting to have anything. I think the original position was general coordinator.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to call myself commissioner. I didn't want to call myself president without being like kind of set up to do that.
Right. Officially elected.
It's nice to be nominated, stuff like that. But it's like if you want to be a position and nobody's nominated you, just come to talk to one of us. We'll nominate you. It's not a big deal. We want people to be on the board. We want people to commit their time and effort because we need it. We need that effort. So.
Or shit, just nominate yourself. I'll like it. I'll second it. I don't care.
It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal because it's not a problem yet.
There's only one person in this league I will not support being on the executive board, but they'll remain nameless. So if they become nominated and you don't see a like and nobody else likes it, that's who they are.
I'm gonna start throwing out names just to see.
Yeah.
All right. As a last order of business, unless anybody has any questions, forward them to Felix or myself or Dylan. We'll bring it up. We're gonna go over the general timeline, which I believe Felix has for the rest of the summer, which includes Constitution stuff, elections. What do you think?
Give me just a second. Let me pull up that document.
Right.
Let's see. Okay, for elections, as far as NCDA board elections, that will take place. Let's see. Nominations will remain open until midnight or 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on June 23rd, which is Tuesday, and then voting will be conducted June 24th through the 28th, and there'll be a preferential voting system as per usual, and then we'll tally up the votes. We'll make the announcement before the 30th, and then starting July 1st, that'll be your first day in office.
Somebody will create the new Facebook thread.
Yeah, basically. And then I'm signing into Pivotal Tracker really quickly for the voting for the league. I've been asked several times when we're going to be voting for rules. Once again, I am very happy with how much discussion there has been. I really appreciate that people are actually taking the time to voice their opinions on the threads that I created on the forum, because I'd be really disappointed if I created all those threads for all the different rules and then nobody participated at all. Which nobody's participating on the Constitution side, but I kind of expected that. So
yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around unless you. I definitely have an issue at wrapping stuff around unless I write it out.
Yeah.
See, some of my rule threads is like, okay, well, I need to write it into a rule format so I can actually look at it.
Right.
Aside from the player A and player B stuff, which is usually complicated, which is why I did target and thrower
Yeah.
I just using language to advance.
All right, let's see. Pivotal tracker is pulling up now. All right, so July 15th is whenever the voting ballot will go out for rule changes, and that'll be sent out by email. The deadline for the rule changes votes. Your votes have to be in by August 1st. So you'll have 15 days. Wait, there's 31 days in July. So you'll have 16 days to discuss the information with your teams, get a good consensus, and pose that to a vote internally. So that way you can.
A lot of teams will actually have the teams vote, so that gives their members of the teams to vote.
Right. It's essentially the electoral college, but everyone is the same weight. All right, and then by August 8th, we will announce the rule changes, and then September 1st, I'm kind of putting a hard deadline on when the rule book should be published. That's what I would like to see, but we'll see what happens.
Okay.
I don't want to go any further than like the third week of September. I don't want it to be like it was last year. We definitely dropped the ball on that, and that was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
As far as the Constitution, the dates are the same. I would like to send out a rough draft of the Constitution with the voting ballot, just so that way everyone can see kind of how it would be structured. And I'm working on that. I'm taking another class, and it's over financial management and nonprofit organizations. So I'm actually having to create a constitution for the class anyways, so I'm kind of molding it all into one. So I'll have that, and we'll send that out with the voting ballot for the Constitution. And basically what you'll do is you'll just say, yes, I like these new changes to the Constitution. Yes, it looks good. And then we'll publish that by September 1st as well.
Yeah, we'll have. I mean, I think pretty sure there will be a lot of good people on the board helping out. So
yeah,
and a small caveat. Whatever. July 1st through August 1st is actually the old executive board is still on the board as non-voting members in order to get the people set up for next year.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Which is a nice little thing.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Very good idea.
I think that's it.
Yep.
Any passing stuff anybody want to bring up?
Thanks for playing dodgeball, everyone. You keep us busy.
Yeah, I guess we'll give a shout out to Father's Day.
Oh yeah, happy dads. That's not how you say that.
Dad's Day.
Yeah. I'm sure there's fathers in the league. All right, well, whatever. I need to go.
There's a couple of the old movie guys that are fathers now.
Oh.
They've gotten married a little bit earlier than traditional. I know there's a few people that are married and have kids already. So happy Father's Day to any players, alumni, as well as all of our fathers that are around. What do you want? It's a tribute. I don't know.
All right. I'm going to bed soon, guys. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you for this fireside chat.
Yep. You guys have a good night.
Guys. All right, everybody. Thank you. This had been the NCDA Fireside Chat. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for your time.